Peter, for sharing that. Please stay with us as we'll come back to you for our discussion. Now, a new report by Doctors Without Borders warns that 1 in 4 young children and pregnant or breastfeeding women screened in Gaza last week were malnourished. The medical group blames Israel's policy for starvation for what it calls a triple surge in severe child malnutrition in just 2 weeks. This comes as a U.S. government analysis found no evidence that Hamas systematically delivered or diverted U.S.-funded humanitarian aid, contradicting claims made by Israel and some U.S. officials. The report reviewed 156 incidents of aid loss or theft, finding that nearly a third were caused directly or indirectly by Israeli military action. The findings have intensified the debate over the growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where the UN says nearly a quarter of the population now faces famine-like conditions. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Peter Baum. He's a foreign editor at Weekly Blitz. Now, what's your reaction, Peter, for this news and criticism towards Israel?
Regarding which, from Médecins Sans Frontières or from the USAID organization?
From the Frontier, MSF Frontier's claims.
Okay,
yes.
It's quite interesting. If true, of course, it's another disaster for Israel in their attempts to bring in aid to the Gazans. But I think it should be challenged somewhat because Médecins Sans Frontières actually stated some time ago that they were no functioning hospitals within Gaza within which they could operate. Now, all of a sudden, they're back functioning in field hospitals in Gaza. So I think there's a bit of a lack of credibility on behalf of that particular organisation. First of all, they're suggesting they couldn't function because of the Israeli bombardment, which has continued. And now, a couple of months later, they seem to be functioning again. So I think the story here is to question that particular organisation. That aside, clearly there is an issue with delivering aid into Gaza, which are affecting the ordinary Gazans. Now, the Israelis are aware of this, as are the UN aid agencies, and we, with our own eyes, see hundreds of trucks on the Gazan border which aren't finding their way into Gaza. Now, why? And is it the fault of the Israelis? Is it the fault of the UN agencies who want to take control of the aid distribution and dilute the efforts of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is currently taking control? So, going back to your question, we will continue to see demonisation of the Jewish state of Israel day after day after day from certain bad faith actors. I include in that at the moment MSF because it beggars belief that some months ago they were actually stating to the world it was impossible for them to function, and now, a couple of months later, they seem to be functioning. So whether they were lying then or lying now, but they were certainly lying in one of the two cases, we have yet to see. Now, in terms of the report that's just come out, and I understand it's come out from a subdivision of USAID called the Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance. Now, all of us following the work of the UN aid agencies will know that USAID was one of the first agencies that the Trump administration cut all funding to. And this goes back, I think, to the discussion that I had on your program yesterday about ruining the business model of these aid agencies, and USAID has been one of them. And I've read the report in its entirety, and it really does beg a belief. It's already been debunked by the State Department and the Israeli authorities, and the analysis it highlights is 156 cases of stolen aid, of which over half were attributed to unidentified sources, unarmed factions, people they don't know. Not once is Hamas mentioned, and yet we saw video clips, numerous of them, of Hamas operatives stealing aid. We've seen reports and video clips of Gazans themselves protesting against Hamas for stealing aid. And only today we've seen video clips which have gone viral of Hamas operatives gouging themselves on food within their bunkers, whereas they're
Peter,
living like kings in restaurants. It's absurd. I think this report lacks any type of credibility. Very surprised that it's been given the kind of publicity that it has been.
yes. Thank you very much, Peter Baum, for joining us as always and sharing your insight all the way from London. Now we move